What felt like a useless piece of advice until you actually tried it? Cleaning your house before leaving for more than 5 days. Nothing is better than coming to a clean house. I travel a lot for work and can sometimes be gone for 2 to 3 weeks at a time. There is nothing worse than finally coming home and remembering how bad you left the place. I learned this real quick and make a point to clean up before I leave. Life is really much easier if you clean your workplace room. I clean my room often, and it makes me feel calm and clears my head. Fans on my old MacBook died. Saw a YouTube video that said to simply take your fist and bang on the part of the computer that housed the fans. Thinking it was a troll, I gave it a shot out of pure frustration, and lo and behold, they purred back to life and I never had another issue with them for the rest of the time that I owned that computer. Compliment people behind their backs. Sounds stupid but works wonders. I'd never say this to her face, but she's a wonderful person and a gifted artist. I'm not a racist, but I think everyone should be treated equally. Teacher here. When you're texting, emailing between colleagues, friends, etc., don't put anything you wouldn't say to their face in writing. If you have it in writing, they've got something physical they can hold against you or gossip about. Even if the door is closed, speak quietly if you're going to vent. Your coworkers can probably hear you clear down the hallway if you're bitching after hours. Take it down to a whisper. CC your admin on every email asking a professional question to anybody else, or in any conversation in which the slightest bit of conflict could arise. If you don't trust one of your coworkers, don't say a word to them beyond basic greetings. Trust your gut. Sit quietly in the lounge at lunch. If you think something is wrong, speak up. You probably aren't the only one to notice, and your voice does make a difference. Turn it off and turn it back on. This applies to everything that has a computer or any sort of electronic. People laugh at me when I ask them, have you tried turning it off and back on again? Not taking your cell phone into bed with you. After a while you will sleep much easier without the distraction and blue light shining straight into your eyes before bed. Sounds like a good idea. Me on my phone in bed at 10 p.m. Sounds like a good idea for tomorrow. Me on my phone in bed at 2 a.m. every night. Practice gratitude. Grateful people are happy people. This includes just saying thank you anytime someone does something. Everyone likes to be acknowledged for something, even if it's something small, and just making other people a little happier makes you happier. And I imagine even just noticing how much others do for you is bound to help. So I usually cook dinner, but tonight I was in the middle of something when dinner needed to get started, so my husband did it. When I got my plate, I thanked him for cooking dinner. He said, "I'm sorry the pork chops are over-seasoned." I said, "I haven't even tried them yet, but they're delicious." Do you know what the best spice is? Food somebody else cooked for you. Absolutely. I know he's not a gourmet chef, but I appreciate the hell out of somebody else cooking for me. Stick to the same sleep schedule on your days off that you follow on days when you have to be somewhere at a specific time, like school or work days. I spent my whole life sleeping until noon on weekends, thinking I was storing sleep in some imaginary sleep bank. I recently started waking up early on weekends, and now I don't have trouble waking up when my alarm goes off during the week. Plus I have all this extra time to do stuff because I'm not sleeping all day. I got a job to match my natural sleep cycle, and I'm much happier for it. I loved working the swing shift, 2 to 10 p.m. I'd sleep from 1 to 9 and got the best sleep of my life. Had several hours in the morning to use how I wished. I actually ate breakfast and exercised before work. I've given up on exercising before 7 a.m. I just can't bring myself to do it. Biggest game changer here. Prep your food. Start baking, cooking, boiling. Get on those dishes while it's cooking. Serve up the food, immediately toss leftovers into storage containers before eating and get in soaking those pots and pans. Enjoy the meal, rinse plates immediately before food cakes on, and clean the remaining dishes. Clears up so much more time waiting for things to soak and scrubbing harder. I've got young kids and grad school after work. This is the only way I can cook now and keep on top of dishes. Slack even one night and I pay for it severely the next day. My dad always told me ask anyway. The worst they can say is no when buying something, or when I needed something from another person. Seemed stupid to ask if I was sure they would say no, but I was also a socially anxious kid. Turns out that advice has helped me with school, with raises, with people in general, with plans with new friends. Another thing, a stupid question is better than a stupid mistake. Faking confidence to become more confident. I 100% agree with this, but where I have seen people go wrong with this is thinking that exuding confidence equals being an asshole. There is a very major distinction between them. I didn't even think about that. I've seen quite a bit of that too. I'm not sure how to explain the line between the two well, though. Experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. My old boss always said experience is what you get just after you needed it. Now when I screw something up, I just think, well, I know what not to do next time. I always tell my team that experience isn't just knowing what to do, it's also knowing what not to do. For short, ruling out poor choices is super important. That's happened at work and home many times in the past, where one of us will say, well, what if we do this? Because that has electricity running through it, and doing that would make us die. Or something else equally important, so what do we do instead? You know, but not that. Give up caffeine to help with anxiety. I gave it up to help with my vertigo years after this was first suggested to me, but it did help. I'm still anxious as fuck, but I'm not reacting to it like a hummingbird on cocaine anymore. From a YouTube video dictated by a heavily accented doctor, unclog your nose by sitting up straight, holding your breath and tapping your nose, untapping and breathing into about 80% of what you'd normally breathe in, exhale, and repeat for a period of about 40 seconds to a minute. The point is to get a response to where your body almost feels like it's drowning. It's tough, but it clears your sniffles right up for a long while, and works 90% of the time. Then I went on to suggest it to so many people, but they won't believe me or try it, even if they're desperate. Edit, my native Spanish was showing through. Used a false cognate. What I meant by tapping was tapir, which means to cover. There's what you need, there's what you want, and there's what you can't afford. My dad says this all the time, and I never, though of it is useless, I just never used it. Now I have, and my money is far easier to manage. If you can't buy it twice, you can't afford it. Jay-Z. If you have a clogged nose, doing 8 to 10 push-ups will temporarily clear it up. Is this just to get me to try to actually do a push-up? Haha, one would assume. But no, it legit works. When you're trying to fall asleep, and your mind is racing thinking about a million things at once, making it impossible to fall asleep, do this, pick a letter of the alphabet. Count to 8 when you get to 8, think of a word that starts with your letter, count to 8 again, think of a different word that starts with that letter, repeat ad nauseum. You'll distract your brain and bore it to sleep. When you are sad, eat healthy, do a lot of sport, and try to take fresh air under the sun. It sounds like the typical piece of shit, but it works incredibly well. It probably is something purely chemical, so it is definitely worth a try. Was doing that, was feeling well. Had a few rough weeks at work, currently not doing these things anymore, and I feel like shit, no energy, depressed. Thanks to remind me the answer was right in front of me. Stop chasing girls. Most times now they notice me as an individual, not as someone begging for a girlfriend. This seems really counterintuitive, but I can confirm it works. They can smell the desperation coming off you. When I gave up and worked on personal projects, I found a lot more success with women. That said, you still have to be in an environment that leads to talking with people. Giving up doesn't mean to sit in your apartment and mope. It means to not have getting a girl as the goal for the day while you're out and about. I suffered severe insomnia for years. Someone told me I should get up an hour earlier, go for a 30-minute run in the morning, then do yoga for 15 minutes before showering and getting ready for work. Seemed ridiculous, but I decided to try it for a month. Haven't suffered insomnia since. Have way more energy, sleep better, feel better. It's amazing. I went to a sleep doctor today. He gave me the following advice to start improving my sleep habits. 1. Don't go to bed unless you are tired. Don't set a specific time in which you need to go. Doesn't matter if it's 1 a.m., etc. too. If you haven't fallen asleep within 20 minutes of being in bed, get out, go to another room, and read or clean, or do something else until you are tired. 3. Wake up at the same time every single day. Doesn't matter the day or the plans. Same time. 4. Within 30 minutes of waking up, go outside without sunglasses for 30 minutes. If you live in a place with minimal light, you can get a light box. My dog is going to be super stoked on this. He also gave some other advice, but I wanted to keep this somewhat short. Day 1 for me is tomorrow. I hope this can help others. Push the like button and subscribe.